Oh, hi there. So, I know I haven't made content for you guys in a while. That being said, I thought I'd go ahead and do one for you guys. We're gonna go ahead and start on something that I've been putting off for a while. So I've been wanting to do a series for you guys, well, actually a few, of a bunch of horror movie reviews. So I thought it would be fun to start off with one of my favorite franchises, the Hellraiser series. Now today, I'm just going to do the first one, at least in this video for you guys, of my review of Hellraiser, the original film. Directed, written, and screenplay was all done by Clive Barker. It was made in 1987, and if you see me looking at something, it's just my lovely book for notes. It was rated R. It had a runtime of 134 minutes. It was starring the main characters of Christy, her father Larry, her stepmother Julia, and her uncle Frank, as well as her boyfriend Steve. Now all those character names are important. Please try to remember them. I know that might be hard. I'll try to, keep you guys grounded and keep you remembering who's who. And we are going to go straight into this one. This film was genreized as a horror/slasher film. Personally, it has some of my favorite cinematography moments in it. There are so many cool moments in this one. Personally, my favorite one is their use of claymation. If you don't know what that is, you can go ahead and look it up if you don't want to. Basically, it means they make a clay model of something and they shoot it in a specific way. This one was done in reverse, which I'll get to in a little bit when we actually talk about that scene. So, go ahead and get right on into the story arc. So, in this film, we follow, in the very get-go of the film, an opening scene of Frank, Christy's uncle, sitting on a bed, and you don't find out his name until a little bit later. It's not long, trust me. He's sitting on a bed, and he's playing with what is called the lament configuration. If you don't know what that is, or it sounds weird, the puzzle box. Yes, that lovely device that you see in almost every Hellraiser. It is actually called the lament configuration. And if you're wondering the backstory about that, I'm going to be doing the full entire series of this. There is a movie that is specifically dedicated to telling the story of the lament configuration. So when we get there, I will give you some details, a lot more than you're going to find in this one, of the puzzle box. So, that being said, we're going to go back to this one. So, Frank, like I said, is sitting and he's messing with this box. He ends up opening it, and in it we end up hearing, the best way to put it is screams. You don't really get to see very much in this very beginning scene, but there is a moment where you realize that the mattress that he is sitting on, keep that one in mind, guys. It's a kind of an important thing. So, fast forward a little bit. We come in on Larry and Julia moving into Frank's old home. Since Frank has gone missing, everything of his is given to his brother, Larry, which means his house is included in that. So, since he owns this house, he figured he would go ahead and move in his new wife and himself. During this time, you get to also meet, in this opening scenes, Christy, our main actual character, which doesn't feel that way at first. It definitely does more with later films. This one kind of seems more like Frank and Julia are the main characters, even though they're really not. You come to find out Frank, for lack of a better term, is a very big sexual deviant. And I'm going to put a disclaimer right here for you guys that this film is not one for the younger viewers. Viewer discretion is advised on letting your children watch this film. I would suggest you let them be a little bit older before you do this, because we are dealing with such content and subject matter as violence, murder, sorry, but I have to say it, rape, molestation, child abuse, quite a few horrible things that are usually a little bit more of a taboo, faux pas kind of deal when it comes to most people. So if that's something that you don't want to watch, I wouldn't really suggest the Hellraiser series, just for the factor that it does not go light on its grotesque gore. And later films get a little bit more harder in this than just this one. Sorry about that, it's an ad. So that being said, please do, be careful on what you let your children watch. This one is definitely one that's meant for an older viewing audience. So we are again where we're watching we're watching Larry move into Frank's house with his wife. And during that move, Larry is moving some stuff upstairs with the movers, and Christy is talking to her stepmother. You come to realize through this kind of conversation that she has with her often that her and Christy and Julia, do not have the best relationship. They are not what you would say friendly with each other, and I don't honestly believe that Christy ever likes her stepmother prior to her becoming her stepmother. I think it's just something that she accepted because it made her father happy. But that being said, later on in the film, you can kind of understand why she just doesn't care very much for Julia either through her actions. So let's get right on into what that reasoning is. While Larry's upstairs moving what it looks like is a mattress up in the attic, which personally doesn't make sense to me because, like I said in that beginning scene, we see Frank on a mattress. The mattress is important because it plays roles in not only this film, but the sequel as well. It's basically a vessel because of how much of a degenerate, like I said, Frank is. It allows for a portal because it is essentially a talisman of him. It's something that was so linked to him that it gives him a way back. And when I say that, you'll understand in a moment. So Larry, while he's moving this mattress, he catches his hand on a nail right here on his palm and just cuts along his palm so immensely that it's just gushing blood on the ground and splashes onto the mattress. He runs downstairs to Julia, who, oddly enough, is having a flashback of Frank in this moment. Kind of messed up when you watch her flashback, because turns out she slept with Frank. Frank, the day before Larry and her wedding, came to the house, which is his. He was letting Frank, because he was getting married, use his house for the, reception and all of that, and basically getting it ready for the marriage ceremony the next day. Well, he comes in. He did not meet Julia once before this encounter. And essentially, he seduces her. They sleep together. And I'm sorry, girl, if you have a man react like this after you've slept with him, I think he might not be into you as much as you were hoping. He literally says the words, "It's never enough," and runs away from her after this. If a man says that to you right after you guys are done, there's no love there for you, hon. But this girl is so pining over her husband's brother from one literal, barely fated encounter. He literally was lucky to run into her instead of his brother, because his brother just went out to the store to get some stuff for their wedding. And she sleeps with his brother. So he comes running, Larry, after hurting himself, to her, saying, I can't handle blood. I can't handle blood. Please tell me how bad it is." And she cleans him up. They go downstairs. And in one of the most amazing, this is what I was talking about, claymation moments that you'll probably ever see besides, Evil Dead. They had an amazing claymation moment too in that one. It literally is par with it. They took a body and they did in reverse, where they melted it down in normal time and speed, and then played it back for the film in reverse, so it looked as though everything was rebuilding itself. So I'm not gonna lie, watching bone and marrow and tissue and fat and muscle all regain itself was kind of crazy, really crazy. And you come to find out that Frank is using that blood to rejuvenate himself. I think it's a cat or a rat that he uses in the attic to basically come back to begin with, which makes no sense to me. If the blood was enough to bring you back, I don't get how a cat or a rat, being as small as they are and as little blood as they would have, would rejuvenate you enough to bring your body into at least full remission that you have muscle and tissue. I would have expected him to have been more skeleton-like at that point, because like I said, a rat or a cat body, I can't imagine having enough to rejuvenate you. But that's just my opinion. So we're gonna go ahead and fast forward a little bit, because like I'm not gonna give you every detail in this movie because I think that would just ruin it for you. But essentially, through doing that of regaining himself, he ends up telling Julia, which, girl, I'm sorry, if a man who's literally has no skin comes up to you and is like, I need your help, I need you to kill people for me, you dip. You don't stay and go, what do you want me to do, baby? What? But she does. She totally does. And she brings him more and more victims. I think there is 3 altogether that they at least show or care to show that he's taken and absorbed. And he ends up, which is kind of weird to me, still not having skin after all 3 of these victims. But he was fully organs and, muscle and tissue and all that after a cat or a rat. Again, I can't remember. It's been a few years. But, like, you suck down 3 human beings. What? So, after these victims, they basically decide, Julia and Frank, that they're going to run away with each other. But they can't with Frank looking the way he does. And in this time period that he's been, eating all of these people, Christy has somehow, through a series of events, you want to know how they are or what the events are, watch the film. I'm not going to spoil it. Getting the limit configuration box and solving it. Meeting Pinhead and the Cenobites and getting told, yeah, so we want your soul. We're going to torture you for eternity because you opened that box. Because only certain people can open that box. And they're usually the ones that seek us. Hell itself. They're the gatekeepers. You find that out in the first film. You don't find out some more crazy stuff about the Cenobites and their backstories until much later. But we'll talk about that later in the other ones, right? So anyhow, basically they decide, well, Larry, if we killed him and took his skin, you could be my husband and nobody would be the wiser, Frank. At least that's Julia's plan, right? So they kill Larry. Frank turns him into a skin suit. And Christy, of course, is petrified that something bad's going to happen to her father. So she comes over that night. Girl knows her dad. Girl knows her dad and knows it ain't her dad. So, essentially, she's offered Frank, because she knows that he is there, to Pinhead. Because he's actually said to her, basically, he doesn't like when people get away from him. He doesn't like when souls leave his domain. Frank was a soul that left his domain. He was his. And he wants him back. So, he agrees to the deal. But it costs Christy a lot. She lost her father in it. She lost her stepmother. Who, girl, you deserved what you got, Julia. Literally, Frank betrays her. Spoilers for the ending. I'll go ahead, and if you don't want to watch the film, or if you don't want to hear this and want to skip ahead, I understand. It's probably going to last about a minute, so go ahead and skip ahead if you don't want to hear this. But basically, Christy and Pinhead end up getting into a fight where the house gets lit on fire. Everything's going up in smokes, and, she's basically like, you have Frank. I get to go. Her boyfriend, who is worried about her, comes and tries to save her, Steve. Which, like I said, he has some pretty awesome moments with her, because he believes his girlfriend. He's a good boyfriend in that aspect. He believes his girlfriend that there is something wrong, that she is not just crazy and that something's going on. So, of course, he comes to try to rescue her. He does. And they barely make it out. Julia, like I said, gets betrayed by Frank, because he ends up getting stabbed by Christy and has where Pinhead is trying to take him, absorbs her. Bitch, that low lasted so long, huh? Anyhow, so the house burns down. Christy and Steve are standing in the wake of the fire with just a little bit of embers burning nearby them. So Christy decides this is the best time to throw the box and watch it burn right in front of them, right? Pretty smart of her. Until the degenerate, which is a character in this film that is very, very rarely mentioned. He's more mentioned in later ones because he plays much bigger of a role in them. He is the one who gave Frank the box. All debts paid. That is a phrase you'll come to learn more often in the later ones, but it is what the degenerate says to Frank. All debts paid. And it's what is echoed at the end of the film as he burns, and yes, you watch him burn. By the way, he's made out of insects. Yeah, that was lovely. Ugh, if you don't like bugs, don't watch the last couple of scenes. He dissolves from bugs and turns into a giant winged demon. Kind of like dragon-like looking. And flies off with the box. And that's how the first film ends. The second one is kind of cool in the aspect that we don't do a time skip or jump. I'm probably going to do that one for you guys here because this didn't take as long as I thought it would. I thought it was going to be like a half an hour review, but it only took like 20 minutes, so that's good. But I'm going to do the other one of the part 2, which is called Hellbound. That one is also another one that I'm going to pre-warn. It is a very hard to deal with in certain aspects, topics. It has a lot more in it than this one that are more risque topics. It is centered in an insane asylum for the most part of the main characters of where they dabble in, although it doesn't strictly stay inside of the asylum. So pre-warning about that, guys. That one will be the next video. So tune in for Hellraiser Hellbound. This was Hellraiser the original. Hope you enjoyed. See you all in the next one. I love you, my darlings. Bye.